you could just verify your... Yes, ma'am, how can I help you?
Good morning. My name is Rosalie. If you're new here, nice to see you. I work in corporate America and I am returning from a leave of absence today. I was gone for the majority of our first quarter because I needed to seek treatment for some mental health issues, and I'm very, very glad that I did. I wanted to share what this day and this process looks like for people who may be considering doing the same thing or taking a leave of absence for a different reason. I know that it's a common sentiment that people are afraid to utilize the resources available to them for fear of repercussions or setbacks in their career. I am here to tell you that I believe in you asserting your needs, setting your boundaries, and taking up all of the space that you need to take care of yourself so that you can be a more healthy contributor to a workplace and so that you can be stable and so that you can just generally be okay. You deserve to feel good. You should not have to fear that if you utilize the resources available to you, you will suffer repercussions. So I wanted to give you some tips, some insight, and share my personal experience with you. And if nothing else, just show you that it's possible, show you that people do it, and you're not the only one who has to take a step back sometimes, and that is totally okay. It is an incredible act of courage and so badass to know what you need and how to provide that for yourself. So on that note, let's start with a little bit of information so you have some context. These are things that could affect the course of your leave of absence, the way that it all goes, the process that you follow, all of the above. So I am based in the US. I work from home. I work for a major corporate company that is a Fortune 500 company, if that matters. I'm personally based in Texas, which is important to note because there are certain states like California that tend to advocate more for the employee as opposed to the employer. I have been with the company for about a year and a half, which is important to note because FMLA guidelines have certain timeframes that you have to meet prior to being eligible to take FMLA leave, and that basically just means your job being protected. If you have questions, you should be able to reach out to your HR department. I would recommend being as communicative with them as possible and always, of course, just being polite. The more willing you are to work with your providers and your HR department, in my experience, the more seamless the process goes. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, I'm a full-time employee, and I think that just about covers it. I think that's it. Okay, so now let's get into some tips for reacclimating back into the workplace, setting yourself up for success, making sure that if your situation is similar to mine in that it's related to your mental health, any skills or treatment that you obtained during your time away will have longevity and you won't be burnt out after just a couple weeks. First things first, I definitely recommend being organized. I know that when you are dealing with health issues and insurance and all of these adult things that can feel so unnecessarily complicated and have so many different layers, the last thing you want to do is put together a file, make sure that everything is dated and in perfect chronological order, but truly it helps so much to have access to all of your case numbers and your medical records and phone numbers, fax numbers, emails, really just being diligent about making sure that you know your situation, you know the details of what's going on administrative wise, and as far as the communication between your doctors and your workplace go, it'll provide you with a lot of peace of mind to be well informed about where you are in that process, what the last update was, just to generally have easy retrieval of that information should you need it. I will say that I am a bit of an over-preparer as a result of having chronic anxiety for my entire life, so this may not be necessary for you. I figure being organized can benefit anybody, so I figured I'd mention it. Next step, I would recommend reaching out to your direct supervisor to request a period of time to catch up once you return. Depending on how long you've been gone, you probably have thousands upon thousands of emails, so many different updates, maybe continued education courses that you need to take, and information that's crucial to you being able to be compliant with the work that needs to be done, because a lot can change in just a few months or so. I know that it can feel a little bit scary to, again, ask for what you need, but let me just give you an example of what the best case scenario could be. I reached out to my supervisor about a week before I knew I was going to come back and asked that I was able to have the first day to really just sort through my inbox, catch up on learning materials, and make sure that I was good to go. She responded, to my pleasant surprise, with an entire schedule already mapped out for me, giving me the entire first week to catch up on things, meet with her, and even shadow my fellow colleagues to get back into the swing of how we do things, which is so valuable and should just show you that if you are in a place that has proper leadership, you should not have to worry that you will suffer consequences for asking for what you need. A person in a position of leadership should act like a leader, period. And that's the end of the story. Now, of course, how long you're going to be able to have is dependent on a lot of factors, like the workload at your company, the capabilities that they have, the amount of employees they have, how long you've been gone, what your specific role is, etc., etc. The message I'm trying to get across here is that it never hurts to ask. The last thing you want is to go into your first day back after weeks, months, maybe even longer of not being in the rhythm of doing your typical duties every day and feeling absolutely overwhelmed by having 10,000 different tabs in your brain open at once. You can't expect yourself to be successful without putting a system in place that prepares you to be successful. Take up space. Ask for what you need. The worst thing that'll happen is you will come to a compromise. Next up, this one is totally up to you. I am somebody who typically has very stern boundaries surrounding work-life balance and my willingness to engage with anything work-related outside of work hours. I encourage you to be the same. That's not to say that when you are operating during business hours, you are slacking off. That is to say that when you're on, you are absolutely on, you're killing it, you're giving it everything that you've got. But when you're off, it's time for your real life. It's time for a boundary and it's time to walk away. However, because I knew that this week was going to be unlike anything I've ever really experienced before, I really wanted to make sure that I was setting myself up to feel good, to feel supported. So I took a little bit of time the weekend before to revamp my desk space, clean it, reorganize my files, implement some new sensory toys, stress items, make sure all of my devices are charged, make a to-do list that goes by order of priority, and make a breakdown of what my top 3 goals are for each day of that week. That way, when I come in on Monday morning, I'm not looking at this never-ending list of things that just need to be done at some point. Instead, I'm looking at a system of things that are ordered by priority and all have a set time and date to be done. I definitely recommend setting up your morning in a way that allows you to take things slowly and indulge in things that you know will inevitably make you feel good. This doesn't have to look like a 16-step morning routine. It doesn't have to look like having 5 hours before you go into the office. For me, it just looked like eating breakfast, drinking some water, getting outside in the sun, doing a little bit of journaling because I was feeling a little ambitious today. That does not always happen, and not having to rush to get ready. Because I did those things, I was in a headspace where I knew I had time. I knew everything was going to be okay. Doing that eliminated the risk of having this frantic energy surrounding me and going into the day with that. Depending on the policy that your company has, I also recommend logging in 5 to 30 minutes early, again depending on what your company allows, to allow yourself time to reset any passwords that you might need to, contact IT for any technical issues that you might have, request permissions into softwares and applications that your company has special permissions to. Even if you're thinking, oh, there's no way, I just reset my password before I left, or it's not likely that I was kicked off because I was absent for a little while, you would be surprised. There's a lot of things that have to be done just to protect proprietary information, and time passes by quicker than you think. You might be under the impression that you just updated your password 30 days ago, when in reality it was like 180 days ago. So allow yourself that time, and if you don't end up needing it, then you're just early, and that's great for you. Next, going along with developing a system so that you're prepared your first week back, I would recommend putting together a loose idea of what verbiage you're comfortable using when you are inevitably asked about your absence. Listen, under no circumstances are you required to disclose the details of your leave of absence to anybody outside of the HR department. If they are not somebody who is crucial to facilitating that process, they are not entitled to any of your private information. Regardless of how close you might be with your team or how overbearing of a boss you might feel that you have, your medical information is protected and you should not feel obligated to share more than you are comfortable with. You should not feel obligated to share anything. As far as anybody needs to know, you were on a leave of absence that got approved by the powers that be, and that's the end of the story. However, people are inevitably going to be curious, and some of them may even directly ask. So in order to prevent an accidental overshare out of being caught off guard or an unconfident answer, I would just rehearse a way that you might divert that conversation to something else, or a very brief answer that protects your privacy but also lays the topic to rest. Or if you are somebody who does feel comfortable sharing details, what that's going to look like for you. I personally can't help with that because, again, boundaries are crucial to me, and I already have such strict mental and social boundaries in place when it comes to work relationships, so I can't help there. But you do you. Next, this one is definitely more long-term and is going to look different for everyone, but is arguably the most important factor in making sure that you reacclimate in a healthy way. That is making sure that you are taking care of yourself outside of the workplace. Whether this looks like doctor's appointments or social outings or hobbies or more structured night routine or exercise or a nourishment change, I cannot recommend having a life outside of your work life enough. It is so important to have things to look forward to have passion projects, and to feel like the #1 priority in your life. This doesn't mean that you have to be the most social person ever. I completely understand being more introverted or just honestly not having the energy to engage with people after a 40 to 60 hour work week, maybe even more. I think that that is completely fair. But for you, this might look like making sure that a non-negotiable for you is sleeping in silky PJs every night, or making sure to read at least 3 chapters, or making sure that when your workday's done, you are literally unplugging your monitor from your wall. It might look like taking a pottery class, or setting aside 10 minutes of every day to watch your cat chase a laser around the house. It can be so many different things, and this is pretty specific to the mental health aspects of things. Again, this may not be applicable to you if you are dealing with more of a physical health crisis. If that's the case, I'm very sorry that that's what you're going through, and I wish that I could provide you with more help, but that hasn't been my experience. I do believe that mental and physical health are equally important, but I can't speak to the experience of taking a leave of absence because of a traditional physical ailment like a terminal illness or surgery, something of the sort. But you have put in so much work to even be able to be released to come back to work. The last thing you want is to see all of that progress washed away within just a couple weeks or even a couple days because you're not implementing the strategies that you learned while you were out. I am not oblivious to the fact that mental health care is extremely inaccessible and is an extremely inequitable thing in this country. But if you are employed by a company that is established enough to be corporate, have an HR department, and allow leaves of absences, I would imagine that they might also have some resources for help. For example, assistance for associates and their families in regards to obtaining groceries, accessing a certain amount of therapy sessions, or even getting medication for prices that are pennies on the dollar. I talked in a recent video about an app that's wonderful if you're struggling with food insecurity. I'll put that information here. Throughout my vlogs, you'll find that I share a lot of information that is helpful, not as a replacement for therapy, but if you are looking for tools that can help aid you if therapy is not something that you have access to. Books, podcasts, journals, organizations, and the like. And above all else, I encourage you to be so shamelessly, wholeheartedly, enthusiastically proud of yourself for even entertaining this idea and having the courage to speak your needs into existence. I know that if disability is not an option while you're on leave, taking a leave of absence is completely out of the question for a lot of people, and that is completely reasonable. But it takes a lot of courage to even inquire about what a leave of absence would look like, how possible it actually is to take some time away, and how you can structure your life moving forward to ensure that you are on a more stable path. Of course, difficulties are inevitable. Life will never be one straightforward right into the sunset, but the hope is that if we're implementing enough care, those blows won't knock us down. They will just make us stumble a little bit. I believe in you. I think that you are so incredibly brave for being intuitive and for vocalizing the emotions that you're feeling and taking ownership of them before they take ownership of you. I want to remind you that hope is an act of rebellion in a climate that encourages hopelessness, and you can rest assured that love is real because you are living proof of it. Ask yourself what the best is that could happen. Advocate for yourself, ask questions, take notes, reach out to people, research, and above all else, put yourself first. I'm wishing you luck, good health, community, joy, and peace. I look forward to continuing to be as transparent and vulnerable as possible as I can on the internet in hopes that it will make people like you feel more comfortable being that way in the world. Thank you for being here. Now that is enough chit chat. Let's get into what my particular day looks like. So remember how I said you may take more time than you expected getting back into your systems? That is the case for me right now. There's nothing that myself or anybody from IT can do immediately. So for the moment, I'm just kind of a sitting duck working on other tasks. tasks, trying to be as productive as possible with other things. I have been in direct communication with my supervisor via telephone. Thankfully, I have her number. Definitely make sure that if it's work appropriate, you have a way to contact your supervisor that is not directly tied to your work devices, because if you can get on them, then you're gonna have a big communication issue. I would be so much more panicked if my supervisor thought I was just ghosting work today. So not the most interesting return to work, but I'm sure it'll get more interesting as the week progresses. Okay, it's a couple days later. My IT problems lasted for much longer than they needed to, I guess. I've been working with several people, and the guy I worked with today was like, I have no idea what everyone's been talking about. I can just fix this for you right now. And we got me in, so thankful for that. But I figured I would catch my reaction in real time of me seeing all of my notifications pop up on my screen, because if you work in corporate America, you know that you, on average, get a lot of emails every single day. So multiply that by several weeks. I'm gonna have a lot to catch up on. Okay, I'm opening Teams. Wait, it's okay. I can handle this. It's okay. Let's see. Whoa. Ah. Oh my god, I missed so many things. Oh, T. Oh my god, I have so many messages right now. Please, no, please don't switch my status to available. I'm not available. Thank you. Effectively speaking. Whew. This is a lot. My heart rate is like beating out of my chest. This gives me so much anxiety. I don't mean to be negative, but I just want to be realistic, because if I'm honest about the way this is impacting me, then I can be honest about the way that I cope with it and move through it. Good morning. Huh. That's weird. Okay, let's see. I'm not even ready to look at my inbox. Oh my god. Okay, let's see. Oh my god, I have 2,000 emails. Wait, the number's still loading. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's like rising by tens every second that passes. Oh my god. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be okay. We can do all things. I have time. My supervisor, she's like, woohoo! She's been so patient with me all week. I mean, I guess not patient with me, because I've literally been doing everything I can, but when it comes to IT, things are kind of unpredictable. Okay, let me see. So let me look at my schedule first, actually, before I ask any stupid questions. Let's see. Just kidding, there's no such thing as a stupid question. That is very unkind. Negative self-talk. That is not productive. Let's see. Me forgets my own email because it's been so long. Bye. Also, why is it so much pressure to create a new password while you have someone from IT on the line? When there's someone on the phone and they're like, okay, reset the password, my brain is like, I can't think of any words. That one? Okay, update. It's been about an hour and I made it through all of the emails, just kind of sorted through deleted ones that are unnecessary, flagged ones that I need to go back to. That tends to be a system that really works for me. Now I'm gonna go ahead and update my calendar with meetings that I have for the next few weeks, events that I need to go to, and just important dates. I also need to take a look at my calendar and make sure that any PTO I had set up is handled, because a lot of time has passed, so some of that needs to be retracted, some of it needs to be fixed. I also have a new schedule, so I have a different day off. There's a lot going on at one time. I'm a firm believer in keeping my Google Cal updated at all times. I was on the fence for a really long time about putting work-related items into the same calendar as my personal calendar, because like I said, I have a really strict boundary regarding engaging with anything related to work at all in my real life hours. But what's worked for me is just having a color designated to the workplace and then having colors designated to my real life. So for example, anything social will be pink, anything related to my health or my happiness will be green, anything related to bills or deadlines will be yellow, anything related to school will be red, anything related to my family is orange, anything related to my relationship is purple, anything related to YouTube is gray, and then anything related to work is blue, because that's just the default color. Oh, and then anything related to my pets is a dark purple. Quite a few things to manage there. Wow, when I say it all like that, it sounds like I have a lot going on. So I'm gonna input these in, and then while I was gone, there was an update that my computers need to be replaced, so I need to facilitate that process because they reached out to me several times, not knowing that I was gone. Yeah, so first things first, let's update the calendar. Mid-year review next week. Oh my gosh, how is it already time for mid-year reviews? That is insane. I cannot believe it's summertime already. I feel like it was just yesterday that I was doing my end of year review. Okay, 2 to 2:30. I have a one-on-one. I put so many things into my flat. Honestly, it's a problem. Okay. Okay. Whew. Okay. Okay. Correct. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I have it under the learning tab. I'm sure it'll come up as time goes on. I'm sure there's a lot. Hello, it's Monday morning again. We're on week 2. This is actually the first time I'll be seeing my team face to face again for the first time. So I'm a little nervous, but I am excited. They're really great, so I think that it'll be fine. So many of them have reached out to me already. It's been so amazing. You know those moments when everybody's like, Rosalie, and you're like, stop, stop. No, please, continue, continue. I love my team. And I think we have some new members. I'm still getting caught up on all of that, but I'm excited to meet them and welcome them aboard. I'm so unbelievably grateful for the culture that my specific team has. We work really well together. I feel like we're a perfect balance of creativity and open-mindedness, but also being pragmatic. All that would explain why I'm having a hard time. It is not in my Outlook calendar, it's in my other calendar. It's so funny getting back into the swing of speaking corporate. Like, this morning was the first morning in a while that I have said, as per our last conversation, in a really long time. Beautiful. Ugh, bless the people who send links so fast. If you are one of the people who can reply to your team's messages in like 2 seconds flat, I applaud you, because I just don't have the multitasking ability to do that. I mean, I'm sure I do. I'm just selling myself short. Okay. Here we go.
Well, you told me you like the heat too. I would be a big jungle too, because
I also just wanted to say thank you to the team.
we're happy you're back, Rosalie.